Welcome, Dr. Williams-Goliday,
Hi.
uh, um, and welcome OMSA staff. Today, we have Dr. Yolanda Vivian Williams-Goliday, the new director of the Gender and Sexuality Resource Center at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. Yolanda is a two-time graduate of Eastern Illinois University with a second master's degree in African American Studies from Temple University. Dr. Williams-Goliday successfully defended her dissertation in December 2021, woo woo, with a PhD in education administration from Indiana State University. Her dissertation is entitled, "If We Don't Say It, Nobody's Gonna Even Think About It: An Examination of LGBTQ plus members in Historically Black Sororities." Her research interest includes Black LGBTQ plus history, LGBTQ plus members in historically Black sororities, and mental health in the Black community. Yolanda is a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Tau Psi Zeta chapter, the association, sorry about that, the Association for the Study of Higher Education, and the American Association for Blacks in Higher Education. Again, welcome, Dr. Williams-Goliday.
Good morning. I'm so sorry about that. I had Alex had an emergency and then I had to step in, but I was not here yet. So I'm here now. Wait, I just shared my screen and I stopped sharing. Hold on. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. Okay, like she said, I am the new Gender and Sexuality Resource Center Director. I think this is day 90. So yes, I am counting because it is crazy. It is a lot, but it's part of my purpose. So I just have to kind of work through all of this anxiety and this newness. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about our services, our center, and then I am going to, ask you guys any questions. See if you have any questions or things that you want to discuss about our center. Me and Alex both kind of wanted to create a model for this center, and we decided that we wanted this to be a vibrant place, right? Not somewhere where we're all, not somewhere where it's just resources, just problem solving, but a building of a community, right? So building a vibrant campus community for our LGBTQ plus queer, non-binary, and gender non-conforming folks. And when we say that, we mean faculty, staff, and students. And when we talk ally in our center, we really mean advocate. We really want someone to speak up and speak out for our community. So GSRC, it was the LGBT Resource Center. That change happened maybe a week before Alex began. I began in September. Our office manager began in August. So collectively, we've all been here maybe 6 months. So we have a brand new staff. We're located in the Union on the 3rd floor. Just some 2 pictures of our space. And this space is for everyone. We want everyone that's a part of the LGBTQ plus non-binary, gender conforming population here at the University of Illinois to understand that where this place is small, it is a very mighty place, a very vibrant place. Our center, we are preparing October 2023 for our 30th anniversary, and that's just the anniversary of the center. Our space has been here since 1993, but what we are learning together is that our space the space that LGBT people take up on campus has been here since 1970s. What you see on the screen is a letter stating the first meeting. It's an invite for the first meeting, which says 1975. But Alex and I had someone, an alum, stop by our third or fourth week, my third or fourth week here, sometime in September, and told us that 75 was just the first formal meeting, that they had been meeting, I think, since 72. So there's a lot of history here on campus when it comes to support services for LGBT students, staff, and faculty. Alex is a history of education major, not major, but that's what he's getting his PhD in. And so one of the things that we have been creating, he has started, is an LGBT GSRC timeline that we are trying to kind of roll out and introduce at the 30th anniversary celebration. And part of that timeline, we are finding some really incredible and interesting information in history of the center. And so what you see is, like, in 1972, the Gay Liberation Front was formed at the U of I. And that was to deal with any concerns of raise consciousness about the gay, and it was at that time just gay and lesbian issues on campus. In 76, the Gay Illinois Resource Center opened at the Y. Then it transferred to the Union in the fall of 76. Something that we really thought was incredible is that in 77, the first meetings, the first talks to organize a gay and lesbian march on Washington actually started here in Champaign. We haven't found any evidence to say it started on campus, but that talk and that those meetings started here in Champaign. So that was kind of interesting to find out. And then we hosted our first Pride Week in 1977 here at the university. I'm not going to hit all of these, but just some of the things that we found, that things to highlight. Gay and Lesbian Illini assembled a group to go to the National March in Washington in 1987. We led and hosted our first MIMBLETEC. MIMBLETEC is the Midwest Bisexual, Lesbian, Gay, Transgender Ally Conference, college conference, because it's 2 C's, MIMBLETEC. But our students call it the Big Gay Conference. So the Big Gay Conference, we hosted that in 21, and that is definitely one of my goals. I presented at 2 of them, one in Nebraska and one in Chicago. It's a national organization, it's a national conference. And it is my goal to bring it back to the University of Illinois. In 2005, our office, the office gained a full-time staff. So we had full-time staff in a resource room. Then we had an assistant director, and then the name changed from just the LGBT Resource Center to the Office for LGBT Resources. The first Lavender grad is 2006. And we have our next not next, but there's been some since, but in May, we have our 2023 Lavender grad. So please keep an eye out open for your students so they can sign up if they are a part of the community for the 2023 Lavender grad. It's going to be over here in the Union. So what do we do? We have three main goals in this office: cultural programming, leadership development and community building, and advocacy and referrals. So when we talked about our cultural programming, we're talking about our Quench, our Lunch on Us series, which we usually do in the WRC. But next semester, we plan to move around different centers on Nevada Street. So those students that attend those frequent those centers a lot also understand the intersectionality of our office and can be a part of our office as well. We have the LGBT History Month, the National Coming Out Day, TDOR, which is just Trans Day of Remembrance. Those things are national initiatives that we do out of this office. And then the Queer Student Socials, which is some just outside activities that we do with all of our students, mostly with the QCC, which is our Queer Campus Coalition. Those are the coalition of all of our RSOs that come out of our center, and we have about 13 of them right now. And we'll talk about that in a few slides. Leadership development and community building. We have 4 student interns. One of them is actually doing a paid internship in our office. She's working on her bachelor's of social work. And so she's incredible, actually. We do a student leadership retreat. So we did a small one for the student interns this fall, but in January, we have a QCC leadership retreat. What we found is that a couple of our QCC organizations were online, strictly online, because they were created and formed during the pandemic. And so we're bringing them, they're still online, but we're bringing them in person. Then we have a lot of our, we have 2 to 3 of them that was not online, but was created during the pandemic. So they met, they were very small, 2 to 3 people, but they don't have any leadership. They have just a little leadership skills. So we want to enhance their leadership skills with this retreat. And then our RSO affiliate program, which is the QCC. And then advocacy and referrals. So we have a lot of faculty and staff that may email us or contact us with questions, maybe want to send a student over to talk to us because the students have disclosed to them that they are questioning their identity or questioning their sexuality or orientation. We also have referrals where we have students that sometimes the challenges that they are facing are above our expertise. And so our referrals are connected to McKinley, to the Counseling Center, maybe to you all, maybe to BNAC. We do all sorts of things when it comes to advocacy and referral, but we just don't want to be known for just that. And then our marketing community, so our interns, there's one that kind of does a little of all of the crossover. She really stays with the campus engagement, but she does help the other interns with community advocacy and marketing communication. That's the paid one. The other 3 are also paid, but they are in-house. And they are marketing, communication, campus engagement, and campus advocacy. And as you see, what their duties are listed there, but our marketing and communication is definitely our connection to our social media presence, and on all our social media networks. Our campus engagement, she helps out a lot with our Quench programs, our any other in-house events or cultural celebrations that we have with different cultural months or resource months. And then we have the community advocate, and they work closely with the food pantry, with one of our advisory committee members who works closely with home insecurities, homelessness, students with home insecurities or / homeless, food insecurities, works with our connection with the I think it's called GCAP, the Greater Champaign AIDS Project. So that's what some of our interns do. So the QCC, which is the Queer Campus Coalition, one of our proudest and best initiative from this fall is bringing these RSOs together. Some of these RSOs existed separately outside of the GSRC. But what we want to do is give them a home. And so we just asked if they wanted, and there's perks to being a part of the QCC, right? The scheduling of the center, as small and mighty as it is, the maybe some small funding for programming, and community building amongst the RSOs. So we have some of the main ones, and there's some that is not housed with the GSRC, but meet regularly over at the GSRC or uses our space for events. So for instance, CUTES is the Campus Union for Transgender Equality and Support, and they meet, exec board and their members meet in our space. Fuse as well meet and have events in our space. Fuse is for students of color. It's a closed group, but for students of color here at the University of Illinois. We have OSTEM. So OSTEM does not, OSTEM is an affiliate of our organization, of our center, but they meet over here, and they've had one event over here, but a lot of times they have events in another building. I still don't know the name of the building, but they have an event over, they have their events over in another meeting, another building. And then we have the Women of Pride, which meets, their exec meets over here, but Women of Pride is housed over at the Women Resource Center. And then we have a ton of affiliate groups. I started Black, which is for our Black queer students here on campus. And they came to our queer, we had our QCC appreciation thing yesterday. So I met a lot of our Black BLACQ members yesterday. We have the LGBT Jew. We have the Queer Book Club that just became official. Fuse just became official RSO. And we were getting Black there as well next semester. And actually, neurodivergent meets over here. And then some of our overall fall programming, a lot of these are a national and annual initiatives, like the LGBT History Month, National Coming Out Day, TDOR, Quench. Well, those three, and Pride Fest and Pride, those four are annual events and initiatives across the board nationally, actually, that we participate in at the GSRC. We had some very new programs this semester, which was the We Are Here Block Party, which was on Nevada Street with the Counseling Center. And World AIDS Day actually is also a national initiative that we participate in. But then we have events that was not so welcoming to the GSRC and the LGBT community that happened on campus that became something, was like a silver lining. So for instance, we had a speaker on campus that is transphobic, that another youth group, I shouldn't say a youth group because they're not youth, but another RSO on campus brought to campus, and it caused a lot of distress and hurt for our trans students. With that said, we created a counter program to run at the same time that the speaker was speaking. And what came from that was our Speaking Queerly. And that was Speaking Queerly transgender students at the U of I. And from that, it's now going to become a semester event. So like in the spring, we have Speaking Queerly Black, and then Speaking Queerly all things sex, and Speaking Queerly all things drag. So where we had this trauma-filled person come on campus, what came out of that is a very positive series for us, Speaking Queerly. And then of course is our Quench series, which is our Lunch on Us. Please, if you can screenshot that QR code and become and register for our newsletter, which is Inquiry. It just updates you on what's the going on or over here at the GSRC, and highlight some of our students and some of our QCC members and organizations. You can also follow us on all the social medias, which I do not run, so thank God for that. Oh, I'm gonna go back just in case I'll give you a few minutes. If not, you could just email Alex and we can send you, we can register you for it. And then where we are and how to find us. Again, we're on the 3rd floor of the Union. We're open 9 to 5. We're trying to get some Saturday hours in the spring. And those are our emails. And walk-in services, that means anybody can come in and ask questions, especially when we're here and we're open.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Williams.
You're welcome.
Now we have some time, if you have time for some questions.
Definitely.
Great. Does anybody have a question?
I do have a comment only, and I don't know.
Okay.
I found it interesting, and thank you so much for the timeline and the history of the center.
Okay.
I think many of us on campus, at least me, didn't know that these efforts started so early in the early 70s, which coincide with the efforts of other cultural centers, the BINAC and La Casa Cultural Latina. And I don't know, for whatever reason, we don't hear much about those efforts starting that early. I think around the beginning of the 90s is when people start noticing the presence and the efforts. And what I remember in your presentation was when Nancy Cantor was a chancellor of the university. She had this initiative and many other initiatives that she started working on behalf of our populations, if you may. So I just wanted to say it's very, very interesting presentation.
It really is. And so my life is in the center. My life is in the intersectionality of both culturals, both intersex, right? So not only am I a Black woman, but I'm also an openly queer woman. And so just like and a Black studies scholar. So just like I know that a lot of the Black culture centers, Latino culture centers came out of Black and brown student voices, student protests, student rallies to be seen, to be visible on their campuses, predominantly historically white campuses. That is the same for the LGBT community. A lot of our resource centers, that are older like ours, and older like 30 years or so, in the 90s, right? But our efforts were long before then, right? Our efforts, our voice, student voices, LGBT student voices, were always not heard, not always heard, but always there, right? And I think I was just talking to a student yesterday about this, me being in the intersect of that. I remember the 90s being when I started hearing about or knowing or visibly seeing Black queer people, is because we were talking about it in the form of HIV and AIDS. We weren't talking about it in the Black community. We weren't talking about Black queer people. And when we were, it was in churches condemning or damning us. So positively, when you heard LGBT voices, it was in the white community, and it was early as the 70s. Stonewall happened in 1969 by two, a Black and a brown trans woman, right? So our protest was always there. It just wasn't really talked about in Black and brown communities. And when it was in a negative way. So when you see these centers, a lot of the LGBT centers were 90, 93, 95. A lot of HBCUs still don't have resource centers. I think there are six. I'm gonna be generous and say 10, but I know for a fact 6 LGBT resource centers at historically Black colleges and universities, right? Because again, where we are, though, and those 6 aren't even at what we call the elite HBCUs or the prestigious HBCUs. They're not even there. Spelman just got theirs. Spelman's LGBT center is maybe 2 years old, if that, right? So we still have a lot of work to do when it comes to HBCUs and our LGBT voices. Because real talk, a lot of our Black scholars are part of the LGBT community. So, but yes, that was very interesting. And thank you for that statement.
I had a question.
Okay.
I was just curious if the name change, if it had anything to do with trying to like cultivate that inclusivity that you talked about earlier in your presentation and getting more students into the center.
Definitely, right? And that's kind of nationally. Prior to coming to the University of Illinois, I was at Eastern Illinois University for 23 years. And our center there is about, we probably got it in 08, 09. And it was the LGBT Resource Center. And our name change, their name change started the GSD maybe 5 years ago. And so when we say Gender and Sexuality Resource Center, we want it to be understood that there's so many identities and or orientations outside of the L, the G, the B, and the T, right? The Q and the I. When we say plus, that's that fluidity of sexuality and gender. So saying Gender and Sexual Resource Center allows us to include a lot of identities that are in that so-called plus symbol.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have a question. So what are some, I guess, some suggestions or some tips that you could provide to us for, so we work with the pre-college students, so these are still high school students. So students who are tapping into their identity and trying to understand they fit into the big, ooh, wait, can y'all hear me?
You're breaking up so I heard you in the beginning, but you start breaking up towards the end.
Okay, sorry. Hope this
That's
is
okay.
better.
That's okay.
So I was just saying some tips or strategies when working with pre-college students as they are trying to get more comfortable in their identity, and they are trying to see how those different identities fit into the different spaces that they are getting into, whether it's high school, whether it's home, whether it's preparing to go to college. What are some things that we could be doing to, one, help them understand, or not understand, let me make sure I'm saying the right word, help them to seek out those spaces that will be positive spaces for them as they are navigating these different intersection identities, but also what questions they could be asking as they are looking for institutions, as they are looking for jobs, to ensure that they are in spaces that will be safe for them. I hope that made sense the way that
It
it made
totally
sense to
does. It totally does make sense. So, when we're talking about high school students going, or you said pre-college, so going into college, so we're talking like juniors, seniors, or we talking about any high school year?
So we do 9 through 12, so freshmen through seniors.
Okay, because I want you guys to know, if they are thinking of, if they feel that they're not feel, but that age group do think about sexuality, do think about their gender, does think about their gender expression and identity. They are having those thoughts. If they feel like if they feel like you are someone that they can trust, they will express that to you in a way of a question, maybe a way of it's usually a question, but it might be hypothetical, just because at that point they're testing you. They're testing you to see if they are able to trust you with the rest of what they have to say. So that question may be, sometimes it may be in a form of an offensive joke. They may say something like, I'm an old woman, so I don't know if they still say that's so gay or something like that. But if you correct them in that, be like, nah, you know that wasn't correct. Don't say that. They may be like, oh, okay, I see what she's saying. Like in their head, they're like, okay, check, she passed. If you introduce yourself with your pronouns, she, her, she passed, because she knows what that is, because they know what that is. They know what that means. A lot of students, though, come to college not totally secure, but they really know who they are, right? When it comes to sexuality, sexual orientation, gender identity. So those might be small ways of coming out to you. How you can be this safe person, you can add that to your presentation. So if you're looking at, for an example, if you're saying, if you do presentation on different schools and you say, well, the University of Illinois, they have BNAC, they have culture centers like BNAC, La Casa, the National American, the Native American House. They also have resource center like the Justice and Diversity, the Gender and Sexuality Resource Center. So if you are curious or want to learn more about those cultural resource centers, they're available, right? Just adding us to the conversation allows them to know that it's okay, right? Another tip would be, let's say that's a student that literally just comes to you and say that they are questioning their identity. They are maybe struggling with their identity. Or those are the two that I can think of right off the top of my head. You can just ask them, okay, so what are you questioning? What are you thinking about? What's going on? Right? I promise you, they've had a lot of thought process. They may have Googled. For some odd reason, these kids find TikTok as the end all be all of education, but they have hashtagged it on TikTok, and they've so-called educated themselves, and they have more questions. So being able to just kind of wade through those waters of and I'm not asking you all to be an expert. I'm not asking that at all. I'm asking that if you are comfortable with having a conversation, then have it. If not, say, you know what, I don't know so much about it. Let me ask my friend and we can talk again. Or would you be comfortable talking to my friend who's openly queer and she's Black, and would you be like, kind of refer them to someone else? Because what I like to talk about when I do the LGBT, especially the Black LGBT 101 that I do, when someone comes out to you, consider it a gift. They have thought about it. If a student or a coworker or a colleague, if anyone has come to you and start throwing these questions at you, they have thought about you in particular, and how you are going to receive this information changes if they talk about it again. How you answer those questions either will say, okay, Miss Jasmine didn't know a lot, so I'm gonna go to Miss Kimberly. Or they're gonna say that I'm not ever talking to Miss Jasmine again, and I don't trust none of them. And y'all ain't got nothing to do with what Miss Jasmine said, but I don't trust none of them. And it may even delay when they even talk about it again, or bring it up again. So if you're not comfortable with the conversation, say, you know what, I wouldn't say I wouldn't be comfortable with, just say, you know what, I don't know. Let me ask my friend. Do you mind if I ask my friend? She's an openly queer lesbian woman, Black woman at the U of I. I work with her. My lights just went off. And I'll get back to you. Then that doesn't deter how they may ask someone else later, or the next day, or 5 years later. I hope that kind of answered your question. Sabrina?
Sorry, I was trying to come off mute. Yes, thank you for the feedback.
Anybody else have a question? All right, well, let's give Dr. Williams-Goliday a round of applause.
I'm so sorry for my tardiness. I do apologize.
Okay, we understand. We appreciate you still coming through.
No problem, no problem, always, especially for OMSA, always.
Right, well, that will conclude our program. I'll open the floor to Director Alexander Brown if she has any announcements for the staff. And Dr. Williams-Goliday, hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
I will.
Thank
Dr. Brown, I have to make a time to come see you.
Yes.
Okay, have a good one,
Email you as soon as we're done.
Okay.
Okay,
Have a good one.
you too. I don't have any announcements. Just enjoy your weekend when you can get to it. So thank you.
All right, have a good day, everybody. See ya.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you.